What's up, everybody? It's JT Sports and Match Guys with another video. This video I'm here with my New England Patriots state of the season for 2019. And before I begin, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, upload NFL videos and college football videos daily. Also make sure to hit that bell icon, aka the notification button on the right side of the subscribe button. It will alert you every time I upload a new video so you don't miss a new upload. So, my New England Patriots state of the season. The New England Patriots Week 10, going into their bye week, are coming off of a loss versus the Baltimore Ravens last week. They are 8-1 on the season. They're first place in the AFC East. And this is still, in my opinion, one of the best teams in the AFC. Probably the best team in the AFC, although they lost to Baltimore. When you go back to that New England Patriots loss versus Baltimore, that was game one of one of the toughest second half schedules I've seen in a very long time. This schedule is absolutely brutal. We're going to get into that a little bit later. But I mean, New England, they lost that game, and they lost that game because Baltimore just looked like the better team that game. And the reason why is because New England, they just were not playing New England Patriots football. When you look at a Bill Belichick coach team, most of the time, 90% of the time, you can expect the New England Patriots to be more disciplined, not turn the ball over, and not get out physical up front. All three of those things happen. New England, they got out physical on both sides of the football. The offensive line was not able to protect Tom Brady, and everybody knows that if you want to beat the New England Patriots, the blueprint of beating the New England Patriots all starts with being able to get pressure on Tom Brady. Baltimore was able to get pressure on Tom Brady. Check mark. Next thing, the New England Patriots, they were turning the ball over. Most of the time when you look at the New England Patriots, and most of the time, they're not going to have a lot of turnovers, and they're not going to commit a lot of penalties. In that game last week versus the Baltimore Ravens, they did both of those. They had a lot of costly penalties, and they had big turnovers that really affected the momentum of the game. It seemed like every time New England was starting to get momentum and starting to ease their way back into the game, they ended up having a turnover that ended up losing all the momentum they had and tipping the momentum back in Baltimore's favor. So this was a uncharacteristic-like game for the New England Patriots. They weren't taking care of the football, and they were having a bunch of penalties. So, I mean, that's not New England Patriots football, and they got out physical up front. And when you look at a Bill Belichick coach team, most of the time, even in losses, most of the losses, you're not going to hear a lot of people say this, but New England, they got beat up front real bad. Baltimore was running the football up and down New England's throats. New England had no way to stop it. I'm pretty sure they tried to figure out a couple of adjustments, but they just couldn't stop this rushing attack. It was just way too much. Way too much. Lamar Jackson, I mean, this dude is an absolute monster. He's my MVP candidate. But other than lose to the Baltimore Ravens, I mean, I still think this is a very good New England Patriots team, and they have a very tough second half of their schedule. I mean, everybody has, I think that loss versus the Baltimore Ravens for the New England Patriots was a good thing, right? Because now New England, they're not going to be as high on themselves as they were. They're not going to overlook anybody. And I think Bill Belichick, I think he has one of the best records coming off of a bye week than any other head coach in NFL history. I think he also has one of the best records coming off of a loss than any other coach in NFL history. And I actually saw that on ESPN a couple of days ago. So, I mean, New England needed this loss. So, New England, they're going to look at that loss versus Baltimore. And in the second half of this, coming off of their bye week, they have a very tough schedule. And they're going to look at that loss versus Baltimore Ravens. And that's pretty much a reality check. That's what the New England Patriots need. You see, every team at some point in the NFL season has adversity. And they have one loss that's a head-scratching loss. Even though Baltimore is a good team, there's no surprise that Baltimore won that game. But a lot of people were expecting New England to win that game. But every team has that one game every season that is a reality check. And it makes that team look at themselves in the mirror and reflect on themselves. And the New England Patriots, that loss to the Baltimore Ravens was a reality check now. And let's not also forget the fact that when New England comes off that bye week, they're going to start getting a little bit more healthy. Isaiah Wynn is still battling the injury. So when he comes back, the offensive line will be near full health. And that's another reason, because that offensive tackle, I believe it was the left tackle of New England, he was a backup. He was not doing very well in that Baltimore Ravens game. He struggled a lot. So getting Isaiah Wynn back is going to help that New England Patriots offensive line as well. And the New England Patriots, man, I just think that game was a reality check for them. Now, overall, a lot of people are going to say that New England isn't a good team because they had a weak schedule, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, the New England Patriots, I'm going to give them a pass because this has been the most dominant franchise, the most dominant team over nearly the last 2 decades. So I'm going to give them a pass for having a weak schedule because look, this is the New England Patriots. Success should not be a surprise for a team like the New England Patriots. So they also have a coach who has reached 300 wins, one of the most winningest coaches in all of NFL history, one of the most winning coaches in all of sports history. So I'm pretty sure that this New England Patriots team is pretty good, despite losing to the Baltimore Ravens and having a fairly easy first half of the schedule. This is still a very good New England Patriots team. And after this loss versus the Baltimore Ravens, the Bill Belichick has one of the best win percentages coming off of a bye week. So I'm pretty confident that New England is going to be able to turn around quickly after losing to the Baltimore Ravens in a reality check, and they're going to be able to bounce back in the second half schedule that they have, and they're going to have to because this is a very, very brutal schedule that they have in the second half of the season coming off of a bye week. And also, let's not forget that Buffalo is only 1 game back at the time of recording this behind New England, only losing 2 games, and Buffalo has a fairly easy schedule for most of the season. Buffalo doesn't really have a lot of tough games left, so I mean, if you're New England, you're going to have to win these tough matchups because Buffalo could easily end up becoming first in this division really, really quickly. So New England has to bounce back for that loss versus Baltimore. Now, when we're looking at what New England has did on the offensive side of the ball, this New England Patriots offense has been, it's been okay. It hasn't been elite, but it hasn't been terrible. It's been pretty middle of the pack. When it comes to yards per game on the offensive side of the ball, they're averaging 366.8. Passing the football, the 7th in the NFL, and passing yards per game at 273.9. Running the football, they're near the bottom. They're in the bottom half of the league, 23rd. 92.9 rushing yards per game. And when it comes to points per game, they're second in the NFL with 30, but you got to give a lot of that credit to their scoring that they're having on the offensive side of the ball due to how good the defense has been. So, I mean, this New England Patriots offense overall has been, and a big reason why is because of the lack of depth that they have at the receiver position. Now, they let go of Josh Gordon. You got Philip Dorsett. They traded for Mohamed Sanu. You got Julian Edelman, who hasn't really been Julian Edelman this season. So the wide receiving core has been a big weak point for the New England Patriots. And it's not even this season. The wide receiving core has been a weak point of the New England Patriots for the last couple of years now. And now the New England Patriots, they're getting to kill Harry back. I thought he was healthy last week, but we didn't really see a lot of him in that game last week versus Baltimore Ravens. Thought he was going to get a lot of action, but they're getting to kill Harry back. Mohamed Sanu, he had a very solid showing versus Baltimore Ravens last week, and as he gets more comfortable in his offense, his production should end up increasing. And Julian Edelman should bounce back. Julian Edelman hasn't really been Julian Edelman. The Julian Edelman we're accustomed to seeing over the last couple of seasons, but he's getting a little bit up there in age. So, I mean, some of these younger guys like N'Keal Harry and Mohamed Sanu are going to have to step up in the receiving game, and I believe that they were. And also, it's not just the receivers. They also had James White and Rex Burkhead, who are 2 of the best receiving backs in all of football. So they also those 2 guys get a large workload when it comes to the passing game as well. And also at the running game, you got Sony Michel. Sony Michel really gets hindered because Sony Michel's production varies week to week. You're not going to expect a lot of consistency out of Sony Michel when you got Rex Burkhead and James White. So it just depends on what the New England Patriots feel like doing. They feel like the best way to win the game and attacking the opposing team's defense is by throwing the football and passing it to these halfbacks. Then yeah, they're going to do that. But they feel like the best opportunity to win that game versus the opposing team is running the football. Then they're going to run the team with they're going to run the ball with Sony Michel. So I'm not too much concerned about this New England Patriots offense. This New England Patriots offense normally picks it up around this time of the month. When we look at New England's offenses over the last couple of years, they normally pick it up around this time of November and December. So I'm expecting New England's offense to be a lot better as we're in the month of December and nearing the end of this NFL season. Now, the defense side of the ball, I mean, we don't really need to talk about how good this defense has been. I mean, it was some crazy stat that the NFL posted on their Instagram page a couple of days ago, and it was just based on, if it was just the New England Patriots defense alone, no offense at all, this team would be 3-4-1. And I don't think that's an understatement. This defense is still really, really good. Now, I know this defense got shredded apart by the Baltimore Ravens running the football, but that's not really the strength of their defense. The strength of the defense is not stopping the run. The strength of the defense is stopping the pass, and Baltimore didn't really pass the ball that much. They didn't really have to because they were having so much success running the football. But this New England Patriots defense, they're second in the NFL in yards per game allowed, only allowing 249.3. And I don't think a lot of people understand how hard it is to not allow opposing teams to average over 300 yards per game in this day and age of the NFL. That's extremely hard to do. So anytime your defense is allowing less than 300 yards total, that's an accomplishment. That is a huge accomplishment, because in this day and age of the NFL, it is really, really hard with all the ways that the offenses are set up and all these penalties that are rigged to help the offense and pose a disadvantage to defensive backs in the defense. It is really, really impressive that the New England Patriots are allowing less than 300 total yards of offense. And even more impressive is what they're doing when it comes to their pass defense. They're second in the NFL in passing yards per game allowed, only allowing 150.2. Now that is extremely hard, because like I said, all of the new rule changes and things like that are benefited to help out these wide receivers and help these offenses, and they are a disadvantage of the defensive backs. The defensive backs basically can't even put their hands or even touch these wide receivers. So, I mean, this New England Patriots defense is really, really good. Now, when it comes to stopping the run, I mean, they got exposed. So, this New England Patriots defense, they have a weak point, which is stopping the run game. But most of the Baltimore Ravens have extremely good rushing attack. So, I mean, it's really hard for anybody to stop the Baltimore Ravens when it comes to running the football. So, I still think the New England Patriots run defense is I think it needs work, but I don't think it's a huge disadvantage, because the Baltimore Ravens are the Baltimore Ravens. They have a lot of innovative ways, just like the 49ers do, of running the football. And also you got to account for Lamar Jackson as well. So I don't think we're going to see a lot of teams have success running the football down the New England Patriots' throats like the Baltimore Ravens have, because the Baltimore Ravens are just a unique running football team. They find a lot of ways to run the football, and also they're only allowing 10.9 points per game, which is number one in the NFL. So now we get into the next 4 games that the New England Patriots have. I mean, the couple of games they have after they come out their bye it is absolutely brutal. I mean, they have to travel on the road to play Philadelphia. Philadelphia is now starting to get a little bit healthy. They're now starting to get hot. And then you got to face the Dallas Cowboys. You're going to be facing the Dallas Cowboys at home. And although we know Dallas and Jason Garrett, I would have bet my money on Dallas winning that game. But, you know, the Dallas Cowboys still have a lot of talent as well. They have the best offensive line in football. And they're also very good in the trenches on both sides of the football, on the offensive line and the defensive line. And they can get after the quarterback, which is going to be a very interesting matchup. A lot of people have been anticipating that Dallas Cowboys and New England Patriots game for a while. A lot of people felt that was going to end up being the game of the year. And it still has the potential to be. You're going to end up seeing one of the best teams in the AFC versus one of the best teams in the NFC, and that game's going to mean a lot. It's going to be a playoff atmosphere. You got to go on the road to play Deshaun Watson and the Houston Texans. Now, Deshaun Watson has given the New England Patriots fits the last couple of times those two teams have matched up, so that's always interesting to see. And then you got the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, everybody, that's probably going to be the game that everybody has circled down on the calendar, because Patrick Mahomes is going to be healthy. And we're going to see if this Kansas City Chiefs team really has a chance to beat the New England Patriots in the playoffs, because basically Kansas City Chiefs are basically, in a lot of people's eyes, the only hope that the AFC has of making sure New England doesn't get back to the Super Bowl. And also Baltimore is able to play New England again in the playoffs. So that's going to be a game that everybody's circling. So, I mean, the New England Patriots have a very tough schedule coming off their bye week. They also have to play Buffalo again, and Buffalo is no slouch either, because Buffalo almost beat them last time. If it wasn't for that special teams touchdown that New England would scored, Buffalo would have won that game. And Tom Brady also had probably his worst performance of the whole entire season that he probably will ever have this season, only completed 46% of his passes. So, I mean, this is it for my New England Patriots 2019 State of the Season. Let me know what you guys think about the New England Patriots down in the comment section down below. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel for more NFL videos and content. And thanks for watching.